Tonight, I'm going to cover a couple of flies that are from the Catskill region of New York. A dry fly and a streamer. The dry fly is going to be uh, pretty famous dry fly. It's called the Quill Gordon, and it can be kind of intimidating uh, of a fly to tie. A lot of the Catskill flies are very um, like they're tied sort of fancy and everything. But hopefully I can kind of simplify it uh, to where you want to give it a try. It's a fun fly to tie if you have the materials. And if you don't, I'll give you a few ideas of some changes that you can make. Let me get one out as a matter of fact. So I have it at the ready. Um, so I'm going to switch to the materials camera so that can go over a few of the things here. So um, the original dressing is a dry fly hook, 2x long, but a standard dry fly hook. Um, Hooks are all over the place nowadays. So a lot of times you get one manufacturer's standard dry fly hook, and it is actually a um, like 2x long or a little bit longer than the standard. Um, so what I'm going to use at least tonight, it's a Daiichi 1180. Um, but the only difference from a standard dry fly hook is it has a mini barb, kind of a round bend. But the thread is black or gray. I'm going to use gray. And the tail is done hackle fibers. Um, what I like to use lately is this Coq de Leon. Uh, I like the medium Pardo. I'll flip it over. You can't really see it with the labels on it, but I'll show you one up close. Um, it's a little bit speckled of a tail, and it really looks nice with this pattern. The wings are wood duck, which is very difficult to get nowadays. Expensive if you do get it. I got this back when Hook and Hackle sold Hooks and Hackle, which was probably 7, 8 years ago. Is when they were kind of going out of business of their fly tying materials. Um, and then for the hackle of the fly, I'm going to use a dun colored one of these genetic hackles. Um, I've talked about these before, but I know at the time Keo, and I don't know if they're in business anymore. They had a mixed pack where it was brown, grizzly, dun, and black, maybe even a ginger. So that's just like I often say, that's kind of a cheaper way of getting the materials. So for the wood duck, what I did, and I don't know if the camera is gonna really show the difference here. Um, but what I did, and this is a trick that I learned from Al um, Beatty. Uh, I had a lot of um, this is mallard flank, and mallard flank is more of a white with the gray barring. Um, and I dyed some of it with onion skins. And if you're interested, send me an email and I'll look up what the actual recipe was. But basically, at the time, I was growing yellow onions, so I had a lot of onion skins, and as I was drying them, getting them to cure, I was taking a lot of the old skins off and everything, so I saved a lot of those. And basically, you boil water with the skins and get the that tan colored um, stuff in the water, and then you put the mallard flank in there, and it just takes on that color. So I've got some mallard flank that's close to wood duck. It's a little bit light, but it could be used in a pinch. So I have a pretty decent wood duck feather here, and then I have a one of those coq de leon things. So switch back to the Vice camera, and I'll be able to show you up close some of those materials. I'm tying this in a size 12 uh, to make it easier to do on the zoom. Um, so for the wood duck, ideally, uh, a lot of these will be pretty flat across the top. This one isn't that flat, but it's the best that I had in the package. Um, and I'll get to how to prepare this feather as we get close to it. This is that medium Pardo coq de leon, and you can see how beautifully barred that stuff is. It really makes for it's real stiff fibers, and it really makes for good tailing material. Okay, so I will get the thread started. Um, Quill Gordon was created in the late 1800s by Theodore Gordon. He's been referred to as the father of American dry fly fishing. Um, what he did was he took a lot of the English fly patterns, um, and he adapted them to be used in the freestone streams were in the Catskill Mountains, um, with stiffer hackle and you know different materials to make them float a little better in the more turbulent waters. Um, the Quill Gordon and similar flies, it was basically considered kind of the foundation of dry flies that we have in America today. It can be used for pretty much to represent any um, medium to dark mayfly species. So I'm going to start the thread just to get it on there nice and tight, and then I'll set the wing. And so I'll zoom out and we'll go back to this wood duck feather. Um, so the first thing you want to do, and again, as expensive as this is, you really hate to waste any wood duck. But you want to take a lot of this away that's paler in color and fuzzy, and just strip that away.
Could use it in a dubbing mix.
You definitely could. And then you want to take the center out of this because you're going to end up with two wings out of this, and you want to be able to separate them easily. And if you leave the shorter fibers in there for that tip section, it's going to make it more difficult to split those. So I'm just going to spread these apart like that and snip out the tip. And I am going to save that. Save that little tip section. I've got another one here from when I did the sample fly. And you can actually take two of those tip sections and make wings out of it. So now I'm going to take this, make sure I have pretty even, but I am going to just split these anyway. So I think we'll maybe take a few more off. Now I'm going to bunch these together and measure them to about a hook shank in length. And I want my wing to start about 2 eye lengths back, 2 or 2.5 eye lengths back. And then I'll tie that wing down on top. And as I move back, I'm doing some nice tight wraps. And then I'm going to cut the remaining fibers there at a little bit of an angle. And then as I wrap that back, that's going to give me a little bit of a taper. Now for the tail, I'm going to grab a few of the nicely barred fibers off of here, maybe about 9 or 12. And the tips are all evenly matched there. So I'll just pinch that and pull the stem away. And then again, my hook's kind of obscured from the wing a little bit, but that's about the length that I need. So I'll tie those in on top. And I want to take it back to the end of the shank, which is right at the barb there. And then I'm just going to leave that hang while I clean up this mess from the butts there. And now I can go over that and I have a nice smooth body there from where the wing was back to the tail. So now what I didn't really talk about was the body material, and that is a stripped peacock herl. A lot of people like to take one of the herls at the eye, because those are a lot of times the color and the kind of the thickness of the stem. What I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to go ahead and move this down, and I'll get a little piece of paper and I'll just kind of show you how I do it. You can buy already stripped pearls, and a lot of times they'll use like a bleach solution, And you can probably find on YouTube how to do that yourself. And you can
Move it up
do
a
a
little,
whole,
Mike.
pardon me?
Move it up a little. You're below the
Yeah.
camera. There you go. Good.
Um, you can probably find a YouTube video on how to do it yourself, and you can do a whole peacock eye. Um, I don't have one handy, but take a whole eye and strip that, and then save all the hurls for using for other uses. But the easiest way to do it, if you're just doing one or two, is an eraser. And I find the white kind of rubbery erasers work a little better. I just happen to have one on this pencil. And you basically just against the hurls, um, just rub with that eraser, and it pulls. You can see how it's pulling all that hurl off. So that's basically how I do it. Um, and then, if you work at it, you'll get a nice clean peacock quill. But I have a couple in paper towel here that I had just kind of soaking so they stay moist. And this is one that I did a little bit ago. Nope, that's the double one. This is the one from the bigger peacock hurl. So that's the material that we'll use for the body. Now, I want to actually get down into this thicker part of the stem. So if I started way out here toward the tip, for one thing, that's more brittle out there toward the tip. But it'd take several wraps to work up the body, and I want to be able to see that segmentation. So I'm going to start maybe maybe about an inch back. So I'm going to cut that away, and then I'll move the camera back up here and zoom in a little better. About right there. I don't know what, I have a little fuzz there or something. That's gone. So now I'm going to take that peacock hurl rachis, basically, and I don't want any lumps or bumps, so I'm going to take that down the length of the body and use touching turns so I don't cause too much of like I said, lumps or bumps. And then I'll come back forward.
What weight thread are you using, Mike?
This is a 70 denier. And then eventually I'll stand that wing up and separate it. So now I'm going to take a hackle pliers and grab this stem. And if this does break, I've got plenty of stem left to be able to recover. And it actually broke at the hackle pliers. Let me go back here. So I'll zoom in a little bit more on that body, and you can see the really nice segmentation there. really looks like the body of a actual mayfly. It's got a tan color, but then that dark stripe. Bring that up to the thread, and then take a couple wraps so it holds it in place. And then I'll snip that out. And now I'll stand these wings up. And make a little bit of a thread dam in front of them. So I'm not just piling thread up right at the wing. I'm kind of going back a little bit. So it's more of a like a cone shape. And now I'm going to turn it towards me so I can kind of see to separate those out. Try to get them as even as I can. That looks pretty even. So I'm going to take a couple of wraps at that angle, and then a couple of wraps back. And then I'm gonna, you don't really want to post these like a parachute post. But a couple of turns at the base there will just kind of gather those together into a wing shape. And then we'll do the same to the other side. I'm going to spin my bobbin a little bit so the thread will behave a little better. I think what I need to do, there it goes. And then stand them up a little bit more. So now I've got my two wings. So now I'm going to take that hackle. This is just a dun colored hackle. And with this color, it's kind of hard to tell the front and the back, but you can kind of tell by how it's cupped. So with the colorful side, the shiny side facing me, I'm going to take a few more off the top. Than on the bottom. If you can see that. And then I'll tie that in. I have a wood duck fiber there that's not playing well. So I'll take about 3 turns in back. And about 3 in front. Come up against that. And we'll finish. And if I'm lucky, I won't trap anything. Doesn't look like I did. So cut that thread and then just make a V with my scissors and push against that rachis. That way I don't snip out any of my hackles. And that is a Quill Gordon, but for some reason, and I'm going to use, because I don't have, because I can't really sit and wait for that to dry. You could put head cement, which is what they used to do, over that quill. For one thing, it makes it stronger, of course, but it also really makes that body. So I'm just going to take a little bit of UV resin. That way I can cure it and it'll be dry right away. And spread it over that body. Just a very thin coat. Maybe put a little bit on that thread head. And then I'll cure it. And that really makes the, that glue really makes that body stand out. It's shiny. So I can shut that off and, oh, I need that. The shine is kind of taking away from it, but it just makes that the striped body look a lot more vivid.
Very nice, Mike. I love that fly.
So that's a Quill Gordon. Like I said, it's fun to tie, and if you want to try to you know, do that where you dye some mallard flank, it's a good cheap way. If you do have any wood duck, or if you can get some, this I don't think I have the price on this, but this was about 7 or 8 feathers. I think 8 feathers came in this package.
Yeah, and that
So it's not
particular
like it
fly,
used to be.
that
Pardon me?
particular, I said that particular fly is one that I've got in what I call my fall pattern, my fall flies, the flies of fall, for when I'm fishing out west. That one and an elk hair caddis are the two dries that I've used a lot out there in a much smaller size.
It's a good good multi-purpose fly like the Adams, where it could be used for any dark or medium mayfly species. So the other fly is a streamer. And I don't know if you have caught on by now, but I do love bucktail streamers. Zoom out some here. This is the Ken Lockwood Streamer. It was named for Ken Lockwood, who actually created it. I wasn't able to find out. But it's basically a really good minnow imitation because minnows will be dark on top and light on the bottom. And so when that's wet, that just really gives a good minnow profile. And red is a special color. Whether it's blood or it just always seems that flies that have red in them are fish really like them. So originally these were tied on like 6X long streamer hooks. I think they look fine with a 3X or 4X streamer hook, so that's what I'm going to use. I'll switch back to the materials. And there's not a lot to talk about. White bucktail, black bucktail, floss, or you could use tying thread if you had like a thicker, maybe 140 or I think there's a 240 denier tying thread. A lot of them are kind of maybe glossy, and you can get by with using tying thread for the body. And then for the rib, I'm going to use this Mylar tinsel. It's a small size. And that's it. I use again, I have a lot of oh, I'm off the camera quite a bit. Sorry about that. I have a lot of bucktail pieces that I bought in a package thing several years ago. And when you're tying things like a Mickey fin and black nose dace and something like this, you can't buy a whole bucktail, or you could, but it'd be expensive to buy a whole bucktail in yellow, a whole bucktail in red, black, white, yellow, brown. There's all different colors that dyed colors that you would need. But if you can find a